sitting before then releasing it on SoundCloud. And luckily for Boom, this was really the right track at the right time because it would start to take off. Oh fuck, we gotta talk about basketball again. Anyways, during this period of time, Steph Curry was doing very well. He was winning time and time again, and because of that, everybody who didn't like Curry was immediately drawn to this song, with people even playing it in their cars every time that they left the stadium, and every time that Steph Curry ended up winning a game, the song would get more and more attention. And this would all culminate when he ended up losing in the finals, leading the song to get one final massive spike, and at that point, you would think that Lil Boom had it made. Although, considering the fact that he wasn't signed to a label at the time and he was only getting money off of TuneCore, the payout wasn't all that massive. I mean, it was decent. He ended up getting around $7,500, which isn't anything to sneeze at. I would definitely take that right now, but when you're incredibly poor and you've never had money before, you really don't know how to handle it. And Boom, thinking that he was gonna get a multitude of checks that were the same size, immediately went to the mall and ended up buying a bunch of nice clothes and essentially blew the entire thing in about a week, which was a really bad idea because right around this time his mother would end up completely running out of money, leading her to have to give up the family home, and Boom and his brother would have no choice but to move in with their younger sister. Basically, his mother had to move into a crappy motel with his younger siblings, his older brother would end up moving in with their aunt, and then him and his twin brother would have to move in with the younger sister, who actually had a house at the time, although it wasn't a very nice house. Apparently this place was absolutely infested with roaches, and him, his twin brother, and even his sister all had to sleep on the concrete floor, which probably wasn't the most sanitary place in the world to sleep, but at least he had a roof over his head.
I know my mother would have been so grateful to see, and that's something I need from my mom. She would give you the clothes off her back. And I know y'all here today will always remember. Mama?
Family proof your family. Send an SOS with Tile.
Taking the biggest swing of my life here. We're looking for more. What's your grit? I need a little bit more time to make something shake.
Time isn't on your side, nephew.
What is going on with Jeffrey?
What happens when you want to walk away from this thing?
Your whole future can be right in front of you.
The only plan that matters right now is love.
Don't be afraid to let your life get flipped, turned upside down, and embrace the change ahead.
At least he did for a couple weeks, because as time went on, he would keep asking his mother when he could move back in with her, and she would keep telling him another week, another week, another week. And eventually it would get to the point where his sister wasn't able to afford housing the two of them anymore, and him and his twin brother would become full-on homeless, with them basically living at a local park down the street, where luckily they actually did have Wi-Fi, so Boom was able to watch anime on his laptop. During this time, he still was making a little bit of money off of his music, although it was only around $300 a month, which is definitely not enough to live off of, and every time he got it, he would immediately give $100 to his mother, $100 to his sister, and then spend the rest on food. Now, during this period of time, he actually had plans to go back to school and once again try to get his basketball dreams off of the ground, as at this point, he had felt like his moment was already over. I mean, he had a hit song that ended up doing super well, and he wasn't going to be able to catch lightning in a bottle twice, so why continue to even try? And if things did end up going this way, we probably never would have heard of Lil Boom again. He would have had that one track that was somewhat fondly remembered in the SoundCloud era, and besides that, nobody would really talk about him anymore. However, one man would completely change the entire trajectory of his life, going by the name of Lil Pump, because apparently he actually really liked the song and wanted to bring Boom out to perform it live over in Miami. It was at this show that Boom would get the chance to meet people like Ski Mask Slump God, Smoke Perp, and of course Lil Pump. And after getting all of those connections, he decided, why not? I should continue to make music. There's no other way that I can really get myself out of this situation. So whenever you think of Lil Boom and the horrible actions that he did later on in life, you can thank Lil Pump for that one. Thank you, Pump. You definitely made made the world a better place, changing the world step by step. That's Lil Pump's motto, I tell you what. From here, Boom would go on to continue to drop music, with him dropping his very next mixtape, which was called the Fuck Steph Curry mixtape. I mean, hey, if it's working, you might as well continue to do so. The biggest track off of this project, besides of course the title track, was called Digital Yeezy, which was actually produced by a guy going by the name of Cam Got Hits, which funnily enough worked with both Tekashi 6ix9ine and Zillakami early on. Once again, I guess birds of a feather flock together. Okay, that's not fair. Cam isn't a weirdo, but everybody else I mentioned kind of is. Immediately after dropping that project, he would drop another one called Call Me House, which had a feature from Doo-Wop Kane, an artist that he ended up meeting through Can, as that was another person that he was heavily producing for at the time. After that, he ended up dropping 3 more diss tracks called Fuck KD, Fuck KD2, and Fuck Taylor Swift. And at this point, his whole diss track on a famous person stick was really starting to get old, so if he wanted to continue his career, he had to try something new. And just like basically everybody else from this era, he was heavily inspired by the bass god himself, Lil B, and another very unknown artist that I don't often mention but is kind of influential in the whole meme rap space, going by the name of Young God. Now, Young God is not to be confused with Little God. Little God is a random guy from British Columbia who makes meme music. Young God is a random guy from America who makes meme music, but he did it before basically everybody else. And one of his most popular songs was actually a remix of the Caillou theme, where he would, basically do his thing. He would spit a verse over top of it and talk about how much he fucking hated Caillou, which is a mutually shared feeling with the entire population, so everybody could get behind that. And while it seems like Lil Boom really liked that idea, so he would immediately reach out to Young God, see if he was able to use the same beat, and Young God would approve, leading to the creation of Caillou. And for some fucking reason, back in 2016, this must have been a very novel idea because people really liked it, and it would actually become one of his biggest songs at the time. Although surprisingly, a good chunk of his audience was actually pretty pissed off with him, telling him to go back to the diss tracks as those were the only things that they really liked, and this whole meme music that he was trying to make now was not it. However, Boom realized that if he continued to do the same thing over and over again, he was eventually gonna fall out of favor, so he decided that it was better to continue down the same path of making these jokey meme songs and then promoting them on his meme page, which at this point was doing incredibly well, having almost 100k followers. But despite his follower count, he was still broke as fuck, with him often going live on Instagram and only filming his eyes and nose as a show that he was always hanging out at the very same park. In fact, some of his earliest music videos were actually filmed at this very same park, which definitely makes me look at those videos very differently, as he was actually living there at the time and shooting music videos. I mean, hey, you gotta work with what you got. If Lil Boom can do it, I think anybody can do it. Except for you, AK3K. Close that fucking door and go back inside there. We all know that is not your house, homie. Soon after that, Boom would go on to drop 2 music videos for both Caillou and Fuck Steph Curry, which ended up running up a pretty impressive 1 million views, which once again, considering the fact that he shot the entire video on an iPhone in a fucking children's park, it definitely was doing pretty well. After that, he would go on to drop 2 more mixtapes called Namek as well as Lip Boom, and after that, the year 2016 would finally end. Now, as you guys already know, 2016 was basically the launching point for the entire SoundCloud wave to really find its way into mainstream relevancy, and 2017 was the year that things really got crazy. So if Boom could get himself in the right position, he would probably be able to finally blow up. And lucky for him, very early on in the year, he would end up meeting another rapper through SoundCloud going by the name of Ugly God, who was extremely popular at the time for his own track called Water. And after the two ended up talking a little bit, they would immediately become friends. And it turns out that Ugly God actually had a friend going by the name of 904 Tizo who lived not too far away from Lil Boom, and the two of them were actually able to connect in real life and start recording music at his home studio. And this is where Lil Boom would go on to create some of his biggest songs, with the track MILF Next Door going on to get a lot of attention online, and even gaining the attention of fucking John Mayer. I don't know why John Mayer loved Little Boom so much, but he definitely was a massive fan because he would actually do a Hot Ones interview where he would bring up the fact that Little Boom was his favorite rapper of all time, which of course got the attention of many different outlets in the underground, with Elevator even going on to write an entire article about Little Boom. And at this point, it definitely seemed like he was starting to gain a pretty decent buzz, with him immediately capitalizing on that by putting out a song called Sad Nipple Hours, which was named after a pretty popular meme at the time where people would post about how sad they were at 3 a.m. And you know what? I'm gonna say it, the song actually is pretty decent. I mean, I liked it at the time. I wouldn't necessarily listen to it every single day, but for a meme track that was mostly made to be funny, it's not that bad. And apparently a bunch of people agree with me on that because the track would go on to become his biggest of all time. And immediately after it started to take off on the internet, he was finally reached out to by a real label. Now, they weren't exactly Universal or 10K or Republic or anything like that. It was a very small label from New York going by the name of Photo Finish Records, but hey, they were willing to fly him out to see if he wanted to sign a deal. And considering the fact that Little Boom was broke as a joke, he would obviously take them up on that. And after flying to New York, they would immediately wine and dine him, giving him shrimp and scallops before then immediately dropping the contract on the table. Now, this contract is legitimately the worst one that I've ever heard before. They literally wanted to sign him to a 6-year deal for 5 entire albums with the promise of $30,000 after completion of the music and $7,500 up front. Not $75,000, 7,500. Yeah, that is not much money when it comes to a 5-album deal. And even $30,000 over the course of 6 years is far below minimum wage. That's what the average person makes in a year. But once again, Boom was broke as fuck. He really needed the money, so he signed the deal. And honestly, as bad as it sounds, I can't really feel bad for him because, well, he saw what the deal was and still decided to take it. It wasn't like he got fucked over afterwards. He knew that it was a bad deal. But whatever, it seems like Boom didn't care, as he would immediately take that $7,000, give it to his mother so she could then put a down payment on a house. He would then buy a bunch of moving trucks and finally bring his entire family back together. However, despite them all now being under one roof, it wasn't really like things were getting all that much better, as there was about 5 people all stuffed together into one bedroom. His twin brother would start to develop schizophrenia, and things still weren't really all that good. But you know what? Little Boom had been through worse in the past, and because of that, he wasn't gonna let this keep him down. He actually felt pretty good. He was happy with the fact that he now had a label that could help him promote his music, and he was now ready to get to work on his first official studio album, which would absolutely change his entire life. And he had some pretty weird ways of going about this, as he would end up buying a plank and drawing a face on it. I don't know if you guys ever seen Ed, Edd and Eddy, but it was basically the same plank from that show. He ended up starting up an entire Instagram account for that plank, which would end up getting 50,000 followers, which is absolutely crazy. 2017 was definitely a different time, man, but either way, it got him attention. Although, funnily enough, this would actually create a little bit of friction between him and another underground rapper going by the name of XXXTentacion, as during this period of time, Little Boom was very defensive over everything that he thought he created. He thought that he was the first one to come up with that whole plank idea, and X ended up posting a picture of a very similar looking plank, which immediately made him very upset, sending all of his fans after X to immediately brigade his comment section and try to make him look bad. On top of that, Little Boom would hop in his DMs and basically tell him that he wanted to kill him. However, after they ended up talking a little bit, they immediately realized the entire thing was a misunderstanding, as apparently at the time there was a guy who was selling planks on Instagram, and he would send said planks to all of his favorite rappers in hopes that they would promote it and get him more attention. So it wasn't actually X who was stealing the sauce, it was another guy on Instagram who was stealing said sauce and then repackaging that sauce and selling it to other rappers. And after that whole misunderstanding was over, the two of them ended up connecting in a real way. I'm pretty sure the way that it probably went is Little Boom said, "Hey man, I'm from Orlando. I actually got my ass beat there one time," and X was like, "No way, I actually beat a bitch's ass there as well." She was actually pregnant at the time too, and Boom was probably like, "No way, man, can I meet the kid?" Okay, that was a little bit out of pocket. It probably didn't go that way, but Orlando has a terrible track record at this point. I mean, all the shit going on there with all these rappers, come on guys, take it somewhere else. But anyways, after this entire beef with X was over, he would go on to start promoting his music in a bunch of different crazy ways. He would go on to give a bunch of cheeseburgers to homeless people from his area, basically trying to do the whole God's plan thing, but instead of money, it was cheeseburgers. He ended up making a brief connection with Lil Uzi Vert by speaking Japanese in his comment section, and apparently Uzi liked Boom so much that he actually wanted to get him on his next album, although that never ended up happening and Boom could be lying about that, but the two actually do have a song together, which is kind of crazy. After that, he would then go on to drop a track called Corn Nights, which was actually uploaded with a music video on Cornhub, which is a pretty crazy marketing scheme, although I don't think Boom is the first rapper to ever do that. I know for a fact that Coolio has a music video on the hub that I believe came out a year before, but you know what, I don't want to make that claim against Boom. You can call Boom whatever you want, but if you try to claim that he wasn't the first one to do something, he's gonna be on your ass. And trust me, you do not want Little Boom on your ass. After that, he would then go on to collab with another meme rapper going by the name of D-Bangs on the track Kimono, although their relationship was pretty short-lived as D-Bangs would end up dissing Naruto not long after they met, and Little Boom was not going to take that sitting down. And honestly, out of the big three when it comes to meme rap, being Ugly God, Little Boom, and D-Bangs is by far my least favorite. I mean, Ugly God has some actually genuinely good music, Little Boom has a couple tracks which are actually good, but D-Bangs, all of his music is basically about very explicit, gross-ass internet sex shit, and while that might be entertaining for some people, to me it's just gross and shitty. Although if I could choose between being D-Bangs or Little Boom, I'm definitely gonna become D-Bangs. He might be an incel, but I'd rather be an incel than well, you know. And immediately after cutting that connection with D-Bangs, he would start to go after Ugly God as well. And this was basically like the whole J. Cole, Kendrick Lamar, and Drake beef before that beef actually took place. And funnily enough, Drake and Little Boom have similar taste in women, so yeah, it's kind of crazy how that works out. Although this beef was pretty fucking stupid. Basically, Ugly God hadn't really dropped anything in quite a while, and then he went on to drop a song with Lil Yachty, which was called Boom. And of course, Little Boom was not going to take that laying down. He was stealing his whole sauce once again. He would go on academic stream and cry and bitch and go on about how Ugly God was stealing sauce from every rapper in the game and he couldn't stand it. Nobody really took his side as Ugly God is based and Little Boom is a fucking snowflake. Now Boom would claim the only reason he was freaking out so bad is because he was on drugs, which is basically his entire excuse for every time he does something bad, but honestly, I do believe he probably was on drugs because nobody who's sober acts like this. Now by this point it was late 2018 and meme rap was really starting to change. You couldn't get attention anymore by simply making some anime references and talking about Pornhub. You now actually had to bring a little bit of substance. As during this period of time, Lil Nas X was actually starting to gain a lot of attention for his track Old Town Road, and despite the fact that Little Boom almost had his entire project done, apparently the label wanted something more country influenced. And it was at this point that Little Boom realized the scam that he had signed up for. They basically were never gonna let him actually drop a project because if he did, they would have to pay him, and instead they wanted him to continue to drop singles so they can then take all the money off of that and leave him completely broke. So at this point he really only had one of two options: either wait an entire 6 years for this deal to run out or start talking mad shit about them online in hopes that they would let him go. But despite his hardest attempts, they would not let him out of that deal. That was all until he ended up creating an entirely different persona called Little AIDS, which was basically a sort of loophole where he was able to drop music under a different name as long as he never showed his face or used his likeness in any way. Now of course the label really didn't like this, but there wasn't really anything they could do, so Little Boom would tell them, I'm gonna keep doing this unless you let me out of the deal. So they would tell him, you know what, fine, we'll drop you, but you're not getting any more money, we're not gonna drop your album, you can just go fuck yourself. And at this point, Boom didn't care because he had been making absolutely no money off of his music for the past year and a half, and with him finally being independent again, he was able to start making the music that he wanted to again. Because basically the biggest issue that him and his label had is that he wanted to use a bunch of samples from different things, but his label never wanted to spend the money to actually clear said samples. But now that he was independent again, he could do whatever the fuck he wanted. And he would do just that by putting out his biggest track to date, Already Dead. Now, this track is actually not a meme rap song. It's supposed to be a little bit more serious, with him talking about how he wanted to end his life and how things are really pointless. But the beat that he would use for this song was so happy and upbeat and energetic that it would actually get a lot of people's attention online, with the Fortnite screamer Ninja actually taking notice of it. On top of that, Rice Gum apparently really liked the song. It ended up getting shared on Instagram constantly by different big pages. And this would get Lil Boom enough clout to get in the room with Elliot Grange, the leader of 10K Projects. Now, the way that this was set up is most likely through academics, because at this point, Lil Boom is actually living with him. As you already know, academics and Tekashi 69 are close friends. At this period of time, Tekashi was the biggest artist on said label and one of the biggest artists in the entire world, so they were able to get it hooked up, and Lil Boom would end up signing a deal for $300,000. And at this point, how could he ever fuck that money up? I mean, 7K, whatever, that's really easy to burn through if you've never had money before. 30K, a little bit harder to burn through, but if you're not intelligent, you definitely can fuck that up. But 300K is absolutely life-changing money. Don't let anybody tell you different. Oh, $1 million isn't really all that much money in today's day and age. Have you ever had $1 million before, or are you talking out of your ass to try to dissuade people from looking for money like that? Because let me tell you, $1 million is a lot of money. You put that in a fucking savings account, you invest a little bit of it, and you can have enough money to live your entire life. I'm so tired of rappers being like, oh, whatever, it's 400, it's 500, it's not that much. Money means something, bro. $500 is a lot of money. I don't care if you call me broke, I will take $500 and I will make that shit last. If you can't, you're a fucking dumbass. But we already know Lil Boom is a dumbass. He would immediately go to Japan and burn through $100,000 by fucking with a bunch of, like ladies of the night, spending a bunch of money on anime figures and a bunch of other shit. And before you knew it, $300 was completely burnt. He did buy his mom a car though, so that's kind of cool. But besides that, yeah, completely wasted. But you know what? Not all hope was lost, because he was finally able to put out his first official studio album, which was called Hentai Haven. After that, he would then put out another project called Soul Eater, which actually had a feature from Ugly God on the track Erased, going to show that the two of them actually made up. But at this point it was 2019 and TikTok was starting to become a mainstream platform, meaning that Already Dead would get a second wind on there, basically getting reposted by this big meme page, then getting noticed by Charlie D'Amelio and Addison Rae, who would do this dance to the track and give it a lot more attention. You see, back in the day, a TikTok hit meant a lot more than it does now, because TikTok wasn't as big of a platform, meaning that any track that ended up getting traction on there would actually be noticed by absolutely everybody on the app. Whereas nowadays in 2025, you can get a TikTok hit and still have nobody ever hear it. Rappers will constantly flex about how they have a TikTok hit, but then they play it for you and you've never heard it before, and then you look it up and it's only really popular with like gooners and neckbeards, like just some random subculture on TikTok that you've never seen before. But Already Dead was not one of those tracks, and because of that, Boom would make a pretty healthy bag off of that song. However, that was basically the peak of Boom's career, because by 2020, there wasn't really all that much going on with him. The most notable thing that he did this year was beefing with Tokyo's Revenge, another well-known underground rapper and pedophile. Basically, Tokyo would end up sharing this video of Ski Mask the Slump God dancing along to his song, which was completely fake. He just simply put his own track over whatever Ski Mask was playing. This really pissed off Lil Boom for whatever reason. Apparently he didn't like the fact that he was trying to pretend that Ski Mask liked his music, despite the fact that this was literally the way that Lil Boom got popping in the first place. So kind of hypocritical, but once again he's on drugs. Tokyo would respond by trying to flex on Boom, basically saying that he already had a TikTok hit and he was much bigger. Boom would go on to tell him that that TikTok hit was only going to keep him relevant for a couple months and that he wouldn't be big long term. Tokyo would then go on to drop another track called Thoughts, which would also blow up on TikTok, basically making him the first artist ever to get back-to-back TikTok hits, which kind of proved Boom wrong. And to make things even worse, Tokyo would take it to a very disrespectful level by saying that Boom actually had a hand in killing Etika, a very popular Nintendo focused streamer, which I actually used to watch back in the day. Unfortunately, Etika would end up taking his own life, and basically everybody online would start to point fingers at people like Keemstar as well as Little Boom, but honestly it's nobody's fault, and if you're blaming somebody for another person's suicide, you're kind of a fucking piece of shit. Tokyo would get his comeuppance though, because that entire scandal would come out about him liking little girls a little bit too much, which of course made Boom very happy as he felt like Tokyo got what he deserved. But for whatever reason, the two of them would then make peace and start to play Smash Brothers together, which is a huge red flag. I actually ended up hitting up Little Boom at the time and asking him if he wanted to help me with the video on him, because I felt like this was a really fucking weird thing to do. Why would you make up with somebody who has horrible allegations that he basically admitted to? But I mean, we're probably gonna find out in a minute, because after 2020 came to an end, Boom wouldn't really be all that prominent in the following years. 2021, he was basically AK's little minion. 2022, nothing really crazy happened. 2023, he would end up going on a No Jumper podcast and getting interviewed by a guy named Flocko. And at the time, this interview did terrible. Nobody really gave a fuck about Boom at the time. Apparently, it only got like 10K views in a month, which at the time for No Jumper was absolutely terrible. On top of that, this Flocko guy is really weird. He was basically sucking off Little Boom the entire interview, saying that it was really impressive that he was able to walk 8 minutes, which is like, why is that impressive? This Flocko guy is like a fucking weirdo though. Apparently he got his initial attention online by being a doxer, and then for whatever reason he got hired at No Jumper. I don't think doxers should get any respect whatsoever. They definitely shouldn't get a platform, and if anything they should probably go to fucking prison. But I guess he was the perfect guy to interview Little Boom, because weirdos love other weirdos, I guess. But before we get to the grand finale, we need to go back to 2021, because during this year, Little Boom was a very busy boy. He would put out a project called Odysseus Garden, which was a big departure for him, moving away from that whole meme rap style in hopes of being taken more seriously as an artist. He apparently caught the attention of Drake with the two of them talking on FaceTime. He went on Academic's new podcast called Off the Record and spoke about his album. It seemed like, despite the fact that he was pretty well fallen off, he was doing some pretty decent stuff. But you already know what the biggest moment of 2021 was. That was when Little Boom ended up going into a Walmart in his pajama pants under the influence of God knows what, ended up going up to a girl, touching her bottom. This girl was very underage, very underage. He then attempted to film the buttocks of another young woman before then trying to flee the scene, only to be caught by the police. This entire incident was caught in 4K on the Walmart cameras, and because of that, there was really no way for Little Boom to get out of the situation. He was probably gonna get put on the registry. But by some horrible turn of fate, the police weren't able to actually find the girl that he was filming, and because of that, they weren't actually able to charge him with the crimes that he committed. And despite this being an absolutely wild event, he never really got caught for it. Nobody ever found out about it, and he was able to continue to do his music and live his life without any real repercussions. Or at least that was until 2024, when Little Boom decided to get a little bit too big for his britches, with him calling out some random woman online. I'm not really sure who this was or why he was doing it, and her immediately calling him out for being on the registry. And apparently there was enough people who were tapped in at the time to look up his real name and find his paperwork, and they would realize that he actually had some pretty fucked up charges, with him having a battery charge and actual assault, if you get my drift. But he wasn't actually on the registry because of the prior mentioned reasons. But despite that, having charges like that is definitely not a good look. However, at first nobody was really aware of this until it started to pick up traction on the No Jumper subreddit, of course leading the Instagram page to have to share the allegations, basically cracking the story. Boom would immediately fight back, saying that it wasn't true, which caught the attention of a little known internet personality going by the name of 1090 Jake, who's basically known for exposing rappers' paperwork. He would start to do some digging, find that paperwork, and then share it online. Boom would then hop on Academic's live stream and fight for his life, telling him that it absolutely wasn't true and that he didn't do these things. This would create a bunch of friction between Academics and No Jumper, because he felt like the No Jumper platform was going after Little Boom as a way to get at him. Little Boom would go on and on about how there was no real proof, but by the time that the Hello You Seen video came out showing all of the footage in that Walmart, it was basically dead to rights. I mean, he was caught in 4K.
Sure, here's a unique version of your CV that will help you stand out. Just like the other 30,000 I created today,
Good luck.
Work with Fiverr resume experts to ensure your resume really stands out and get a resume tailored for ATS and recruiter screening. Hire an expert today and get hired. Fiverr.
Loaded.com. Get the biggest game releases of the year at the best prices. Enjoy incredible savings with up to 35% off new releases. Loaded. Pay less. Game more.
And while Boom would try his hardest to prove that he wasn't actually guilty by saying that he only went to Walmart to get fish and that he was only in the perfume aisle because he was trying to buy perfume for his sister, as well as saying that the cops were only after him because he smelled like weed at the time and they were racially profiling him, none of that would be able to dissuade people from seeing what they saw with their own eyes, which was him doing what he was accused of. Now, I know we gotta say allegedly so we don't get in trouble here, but I mean, if he's caught on camera, there's no real way to defend that. I mean, I don't even think Zilla Kami fans would go out of their way to try to defend this. This is basically cut and dry. And at this point, everybody around him would have to start apologizing. Apparently, Flocko was defending him pretty hard, but was later called out on No Jumper and had to apologize. Of course, Little Boom would have to apologize, which he kind of did, admitting that he did do it, but it happened because he was on drugs. I don't know about you. I mean, I've never done the drugs that Little Boom has done, but I have been pretty drunk before and I've never done shit like this. I think that if you're doing actions like this, it's probably who you are on the inside and not because of the drugs you're on. But whatever, that was the excuse, and then he would go on to claim that he was gonna go get help, which nobody really gave a fuck. And after that, basically all eyes were on Academics, with him seeming very defeated and sad that one of his closest friends was such a fucking weirdo. But despite that, Academics had no choice. It was a brand risk. He couldn't have a person around that had lied to his face and made him look bad. He had to cut Boom off, but he didn't. For whatever reason, he didn't. As unfortunately, just like many other people in the hip-hop industry, Academics has this stupid mentality of wanting to stay loyal to his brothers despite the fucked up shit that they do, which can be seen as admirable in certain situations, but when it comes to something like this, Academics should have cut him off and never talked to him again. I don't care if that was your best friend in the world. I had a friend at one point who was on some similar timing and I cut them off. I mean, that's what you gotta do. I mean, we're not talking about 16-year-olds here. We're talking about DJ Academics. I mean, come on, man. But even to this day, the two of them are still friends. Boom still comments in his comment section, and for the most part, he never really tried to fade away. He's still dropping music, even dropping that track with Lil Uzi Vert in the Big 2025, which I'm sure Uzi really appreciates. He still tries to live stream. He's still trying to come back from it, basically saying that he went and got help and now he deserves a second chance. Like, no, Boom, you deserve to be in fucking prison. You don't deserve to have a rap career anymore. And on top of that, Boom would return to his old scamming ways by basically telling people that he no longer needed his Instagram account and that he wanted to sell it for $300, which he did to multiple people, taking their money and then running off with it. I have an entire video on that if you want to watch. Now, I know people say it's really not surprising that he scams people. I mean, what do you expect when you're dealing with Little Boom? But at the same time, it's still a really shitty thing to do, and for some reason, Boom is very embarrassed by this. Now, that video has been up for about a year on my second channel, where I don't really even post anymore, but randomly like a month ago I got a copyright strike on the video, but not even really a copyright strike, just an attempt at copyright strike, where Little Boom basically tried to say that I was taking his music videos and making money off of them, but YouTube was like, nah man, that's not copyright infringement, leading to this really embarrassing back and forth where he was basically begging YouTube to take the video down, but they wouldn't follow through with it. He also did the same thing with Hello Yusin. He recently made a video on that as well if you want to check it out. We basically got the exact same thing at the same time. I can't believe it, I finally made it as a YouTuber. Also, Boom recently came out on his story saying that somebody had his Instagram hacked for the better part of 2 years, which makes absolutely no sense. You've been commenting the same bullshit on Academics' post for those last 2 years. So whoever this person is who hacked you is really intelligent. They not only know that you often comment on Academics' post, but they also know how much money you have in crypto, because when you were scamming people, you were for talking about your crypto. He also recently tried to come after a TikToker that I know going by the name of Perpy, basically saying that he was going to sue him with all of his crypto money. But come on, Boom, you don't have any money anymore. You're washed up. Nobody cares about your music. And honestly, do you really think being a scammer is the worst thing that you have on your name? He even tried to say to Perpy, I can't believe that you believe these allegations. Like, are they even allegations at this point? You got caught in 4K, being a weirdo. You were playing around in your pajama pants. You're an absolute freak, probably one of the freakiest freaks to ever enter the underground scene. And bro, your career is over. Move on. Go get a job at like Long John Silver's or something. You can smell the fish every day and, you know, maybe get yourself like chemically castrated or something so you don't fuck with any underage girls. And if you do that, then, well, I guess you can live out the rest of your days as a former SoundCloud rapper and full-time Walmart predator. So yeah, Little Boom is a freaky man who should never be able to make music again. Absolute fucking weirdo. Shout out to Hello You Seen. Fuck you, Little Boom. Subscribe to the channel if you like it. Maybe try out that new hype feature. I don't really know how that shit works, but hey, if it works, it works. Thank you so much for all of the love on the Fat Nick video. I don't know if you guys gave it love or not. I did not go into that comment section, but either way, it did well view-wise, so thank you guys so much for that. We're cooking, and on to the next new documentary soon after this. I love you so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out. Bye.
Break free with the new Opera GX, the browser that puts you in control, with a brand new design that frees up even more pixels for personalization and an inventory of features to up your game at every level. Like GX Control to help rein in your resources with integrated limiters for RAM, CPU, and network. A sidebar for direct access to your favorite side quests, streams, and posts. And built-in privacy tools like ad and tracker blockers and free no-log VPN. Check into GX Corner for the latest news, deals, and free games. But what really makes our hit different is mods, giving you the power to change everything from animated wallpapers to themes, sounds, music, and shaders, so you can change everything. Get Opera GX.
It ain't Easter. Oh, that's what the word October 31st meant? Wow. Some bitch you turned out to be. Really? Yeah, the house down the street was only giving out lectures. But you're different, giving out king-size candy bars and all? Oh, you're just trick-or-treating? I thought this was a robbery on Halloween. Nah, if this was a robbery, you'd be pointing a gun at me. Hey y'all, Scott here. It isn't Easter, it's actually not Christmas. Halloween is here, and for Trick or Treat, I'm giving away 3DSs filled with Nintendo eShop games downloaded onto them because the store was out of Skittles. Hey, I'm just doing society a favor. First off, low calorie. Like, compare the nutritional facts of Snickers to Senran Kagura and tell me what you'd rather give to our youth. But I'm mainly doing this to spread awareness of the eShop killer. An unknown entity responsible for the slow death of 2 Nintendo eShops. They're still out there. All I can do is show as many people as I can what's being lost while spreading the word. I've been tracking their patterns, analyzing their calling cards, but I still can't find the culprit. The only thing I haven't done yet is waste my time. While I wait for more trick-or-treaters, let's take a look back at the entire life of the Nintendo eShop on both the Wii U and 3DS, and analyze them to find out as much about the eShop killer as possible. But with it being Halloween, hopefully nothing scary happens.
your voice doesn't quite match it?
We'd have a fix.
Sound off with a voice that matches your main.
Or assemble and deploy your best audio memes with the perfect timing. Whether you want to speak with a realistic
Battlefield radio voice.
or clear up your comms with the voice enhancer, our app works with any gamer app that supports voice chat. Download VoiceMod and become whoever you want.
The Nintendo eShop, a digital storefront available on Nintendo systems offering downloadable software, and I'll never trust somebody who looks like this ever again. The service was introduced on the Nintendo 3DS in June of 2011, was made available on the Wii U at the launch of that console in November of 2012, and debuted on the Nintendo Switch at its launch in March of 2017, but these are all separate entities. The 3DS eShop is the 3DS eShop. The Wii U eShop's the Wii U eShop. That means even with the Nintendo Switch eShop succeeding them, there is so much unique digital content exclusive to the Nintendo 3DS and the Wii U of doom. In February of 2022, Nintendo announced the death of the Nintendo eShop on both systems, making it impossible to purchase digital games for them ever again. Oh, I pissed myself this morning, I'm good. Pretty wild, Nintendo decided to terminate these eShops after the whole fiasco with the Wii Shop channel closure. After the 7th US state was bombed, I thought they would have had a change of heart. Well, my neighborhood did put up a sign. But who's to say that won't eventually happen? I have to prepare for the worst case scenario. I'll use the Nintendo eShop on Halloween just in case I use the Nintendo eShop on Halloween. God damn, put it out of its misery. Either way, I have a Nintendo 3DS and Wii U filled to the brim with downloaded eShop games. So let's take a look at both systems' library of games that don't fucking exist. It all started with the launch of the Nintendo 3DS. And by that, I mean it didn't. While the 3DS launched here in North America in March of 2011, the Nintendo eShop wasn't active yet. We had to wait until June 6th of that year for a system update enabling the feature. It's okay. The 3DS launched with Rayman 3D. Well, there goes my productivity for the next 2 months. Then finally, bam, the Nintendo eShop launched. But gotta say, pretty pathetic how the system launched without a digital storefront. The Wii did, the Nintendo DSi did. This is like showing up to the party without potato salad. Sure hope nobody notices. Put some fucking pants on! Regardless, the Nintendo 3DS's eShop was finally open for business, offering nearly all of the software from the Nintendo DSi shop outside of these games here. Damn it! Classic titles from previous systems, a part of the Virtual Console branding, specifically Game Boy and Game Boy Color games, downloadable trailers for upcoming 3DS releases, and of course, original software and applications made specifically for the system. There are pretty much only 2 3DS games on the eShop at launch. One wasn't a 3DS game, the other wasn't a 3DS game. Those being 3D Classics Excitebike and Pokédex 3D. Now, these were both free, at least for a limited time. Excitebike was sort of a peace offering to 3DS users for patiently not touching their handheld since launch. Pokédex was more so a 3D model viewer for the Pokemon from Pokemon Black and White. This is 100% just a polished tech demo to fiddle around with and nothing more, but I will say, the graphics did impress me back in the day, at least compared to previous Nintendo handhelds. Is that a whole ass circle? 3D Classics Excitebike was the main course here, and it's the classic NES title remade for stereoscopic 3D. But they went even further than that, putting it in widescreen, revamping the track editor, all while retaining the same look and feel of the 8-bit original. I was so damn pumped to get 3D Classics Excitebike for free that I finally bought a 3DS for myself in August of 2011 when the offer expired and I had to buy it for $6. And that's when I discovered coping. Honestly, during this time, the classic Game Boy and Game Boy Color titles were keeping me busy. Super Mario Land, Donkey Kong, Link's Awakening DX, these games were seldom re-released, especially in comparison to the junk on NES. Hey, do you want to play Donkey Kong 3 again? For the millionth time. Yes! Even if a good chunk of these Game Boy games didn't hold up the greatest, they were definitely fun to look back on and see how Nintendo's handheld lineage all began.
or there just wasn't anything to do with the system in 2011, because I'm gonna talk about trailers now. Something I remember doing a lot was downloading game trailers off of the eShop. This was cool because you could view them in 3D, getting a better idea as to how the game would look on the 3DS's display. But I always liked keeping these on my system, mainly because a lot of these used working titles and prototype logos, so it's kind of a cool digital keepsake from the build up to launch for these titles. Like when Mario Tennis Open was just called Mario Tennis. God, simpler times. Now the police report's longer. And that was pretty much it for the Nintendo eShop on 3DS at launch. The most exciting thing, honestly, was getting all the DSi Shop content, the Game Boy games, and of course, the presentation. You ever go to a store and feel guilty for not buying anything? I feel like that every time I enter the 3DS eShop. I mean, the music that plays isn't in your face like the Wii or DSi Shop. Rather, it's so soothing and comfy, all while that damn shopping bag has organs. No other storefronts kept me this calm during that situation. I always liked how during the download screen you could twist and turn the icon in 3D, how upgraded the entire visual experience was from Nintendo's previous digital stores. I mean, they have whole ass banners, categories. We're no longer using fake currency, which is definite growth. Sir, I'll give you 7 Wii Cladoodles for that. Nah, now we use real world money and get taxed real world dollars because we're real world citizens now. This was the moment Nintendo fans were finally tried as adults. But that was pretty much it for the eShop at launch, and frankly, almost the entirety of 2011. The only things that ever seemed to pop up here were Game Boy Virtual Console titles. Now, I'm not really one to complain. I think I react in the exact way Nintendo wants their fans to with these games. But it was just odd considering the Nintendo DSi Shop had the exact opposite issue. I thought it was weird how they had no legacy Virtual Console software on there, just original DSi releases. So with the 3DS, it was pretty much nothing but Virtual Console software. And even then, it was basically just Game Boy. In the entirety of 2011, we only got 2 Game Boy Color games. More entries in the 3D Classics line released throughout the year: Xevious, Urban Champion, Twin Bee, and Kirby's Adventure, with Kid Icarus launching in 2011 as the last 3D Classic Nintendo release. I've already talked about these at length. However, they were a core part of the eShop in those early days. They definitely varied in quality, and the games they picked to convert to 3D, I mean, damn, I was hoping they would do stick on a screen. Could have improved it a bit, cause that's a damn branch! Outside of playing old games, however, the 3DS could do all kinds of other things.
From your first note to your next big thing, your sound is our obsession. All the gear you need. Advice from people who get it. Sweetwater.
Oh my god. Uh-oh.
Happy Halloween. Applications! In July of 2011, we got Netflix and Nintendo Video. You know, it was kind of assumed Netflix on the 3DS would feature 3D movies.
Much like how you'd assume I'm not fucking pissed.
Yeah, this was just a low-resolution Netflix viewer. It worked, though I remember it being incredibly slow. But if you wanted significantly less content, but content tailor-made for the 3DS, look no further than Nintendo Video. This was an app that would feature 4 short videos at a time, all viewable in 3D. New ones would replace the old every couple of days or so. They weren't archived. You couldn't save them. You couldn't go back and watch old videos. You'd open up the app, you watch the 4 videos on hand, and the next day you check it out. One of those videos or all of them could be gone and replaced by something completely different. The videos could have been animations, comedy skits, music videos, movie trailers, promotions for upcoming games, whatever the Nintendo interns felt that morning. A Happy Feet 2 trailer?
It was either that or my friend's dance recital.
The fact there were only 4 videos available at a time, I can see how that made it a bit more interesting, but that pretty much meant there was no reason to stay in this app for more than 5 minutes. Hey, I know my flaws. This format couldn't have been sustainable, so the app was discontinued in 2015, with Nintendo opting to just release 3D videos via the Nintendo eShop. Now, many would say they went above and beyond with effort and put a vast majority of the app's previous content on there. I'm not one of those many. Nintendo Zone, another free app from 2011 I downloaded and barely used ever at all. I was busy. basically would allow you to go to certain stores and download specific content, like trailers and items in games like Animal Crossing. Never did that. Pretty much only opened this app at home to pass time by thinking, why did I open this app at home? But then there was Swap Note, released for free in December of 2011. This was created as a follow-up to PictoChat from the Nintendo DS. That was focused on sending messages to others in the same room as you. SwapNote took things a step further by allowing you to send messages to others around the world. The amount of customization you can add to your notes makes this a huge step up from PictoChat, along with how much character is infused with the host Nikki guiding us through things. This was a really cute application. For crime! Yeah, because of the online functionality, many SwapNote users would find other SwapNote users to message via online forums. And that's how many users ended up getting horrible messages. So Nintendo's response was to just kill the app entirely. Though randomly they updated it in December of 2020, calling it the SwapNote Remastered Update, which didn't do a damn thing. It was basically done just to patch things up behind the scenes to avoid hacking exploits. Why call it SwapNote Remastered? I ask as if I'm brave enough to know. Well, we had apps, Game Boy Color, and 3D Classics games all released via the eShop in 2011. But what about exclusively downloadable 3DS video game software? For the whole year? Yeah, if it weren't for all the other fluff, the 3DS eShop would have had an absolutely pitiful launch year. I mean, my God. This is supposed to be the easy and cheap way to release games. Other than 3D Classics and Pokédex 3D, the first original 3DS downloadable game was Let's Golf 3D by GameLoft. Oh, yeah. I've heard of Wiccan Beliefs. Yeah, there's not much to this one. It's a basic as hell golf game, but I mean, I think you'd get your money out of this. Just because it's basic doesn't make it bad. Being developed by GameLoft does. But this is okay. Just nothing special by any means. Speaking of which, Nintendo's first major original eShop release, Freaky Forms. Released later in 2011, this game was focused on making your own creatures and trees. Finally, I can express myself. Yeah, this one was always a bit lighter. You get out of it what you put into it. There's not much to do here other than make a guy and make him walk. This is one of those games I never played back in the day, but I'll see a small group of people reminisce like, God damn. That was the year of Freaky Forms. And it's easy to see why. If you really want to just dick around and make some abominations that you can then control, Freaky Forms will appeal to you. And manipulative parents. The problem is, that's all Freaky Forms really is. It doesn't go further than, look ma, I made this. Oh wow, that's great, sweetie. Please get a job. Cute little toy, but if you didn't play it during the early years of the 3DS as a youngin', it's pretty difficult to get invested in this today. Though Nintendo did release an expanded retail version later on, meaning Freaky Forms is forever physically preserved. Yeah, like these grapes. I didn't pick this game up when it first launched because there was another Nintendo published eShop game released around the same time that garnered all of my attention. Pushmo, one of the best, just one of the best things. I mean, this is incredible. One of the first major eShop games from Nintendo, and it's this high quality? Keep in mind, digital games around this time were always presented as far lesser than the big boy retail releases. Anything Nintendo released themselves via WiiWare or DSiWare had a distinct lack of that given a shit flavor. But here comes Pushmo, an ingenious puzzle platformer where you have to pull and push blocks in the correct way in order to get to the top. The concept is so simple, yet has so much depth as the blocks can form pixel art, the ladders get involved, and it's controlled in 3D so you can move them from the sides or the front. There's a whole ass editor where you can make your own puzzles on top of the hundreds included in the game. Like, going from Nintendo's previous offerings on the Nintendo DSi shop where you'd be damn lucky to get a title.
I don't know how I figured that out. That was the only other thing I could
executed
do.
Experience. It's jarring, but a very welcome change. It's obvious they were putting more effort into their digital offerings, making them less about being eShop games and more so just games. But hey, what about, dear God, anybody but Nintendo? Well, we have two indie games that launched in the holiday of 2011, Mighty Switch Force and 6 Whole Vs. Mighty Switch Force was developed by Way Forward, a studio known for making good games when they do. And Mighty Switch Force is definitely one of them, though it does feel a bit like most of the interest in this game came from it being one of the few original eShop games at the time. The art and music are phenomenal, and the gameplay of toggling a switch back and forth to make certain platforms appear or disappear, It's simple but fun and leads to some creative level designs. But when there's only 16 stages to go through, and originally there was even less before a free update added more, I don't know, it feels a little too light. It's solid, but not substantial enough for you to really go out of your way to play it. This was the perfect I have money left on my gift card game. Now, VVVVVV, this was pretty great. It's similarly short, but the mechanic of reversing gravity is a bit more interesting, and that Commodore 64 game aesthetic is really unique as far as retro-flavored indie games go. But that was the first year of Nintendo eShop. Pretty slim pickings, but I'm hopeful we'll get something exciting soon, like Bye Bye Box Boy.
Here's a game changer on how to make money on your own time. I recently just started driving with Uber, and these are 3 things that surprised me. First, I bet you didn't know that you don't even need a car to get started. Yeah, I was so surprised too, but Uber's vehicle marketplace actually allows you to rent cars so you can get on the road without even having to own your own car. Second, and this one blew my mind, you can actually get paid up to 5 times a day. So seriously, if you need cash fast, the Uber app has you covered. And third, the app actually shows you where all the hotspots are. It's been like having a treasure map in my pocket, so it's been so easy to make the most out of my earnings. All of these pro tips have made my driving experience better than I could have ever imagined. I've been loving the flexibility and the quick cash flow of driving with Uber. It has been so perfect for my lifestyle. So if you've been considering driving with Uber, I say go for it.
Longest damn 6 years of my life. 2012 was a far more fleshed out year for the store, with the games Sakura Samurai, Art of the Sword, and Dylan's Rolling Western kicking things off in February. There was always something about Dylan's Rolling Western that just felt lame as hell. Like, oh, you have parents that love you? Well, I have Dylan's Rolling Western. A tower defense game starring an armadillo. It is Halloween. This one is actually pretty clever with its gameplay. I do like how it takes a genre primarily known for a top-down view and turns it into a heavily character-based third-person action game. You're around the area before sunset to gather resources and prepare for enemies to show up. It's solid, albeit it can get monotonous at times. But this was a fine little eShop title, a fun, one and done. They got 3 damn entries. He even appears in Smash Brothers as an assist trophy. Like, what did you do to earn this? I am so sorry. You know, after thinking about it, a lot of the 3DS eShop games are like this. Games with a solid base, but don't go too far with it, and they can end up feeling a bit repetitive, which is sort of my feelings on Sakura Samurai. It has tons of style and personality. The gameplay is about samurai combat, dodging and striking at the right time, but that's kind of it. It's not bad at all. In 2012, this was a must-have on the eShop, but it felt more like a must-have because what else were you playing at the time? Good little game by Nintendo that got really damn high review scores, like Quetzal's Corridors. This is just damn hole in the wall. Move the shape to fit in the hole. What? Like, Jesus, guys. I mean, I like the smaller Nintendo games as much as the guy right next to me.
Don't look too deep into that.
But why were we acting like these games were saying something profound? Now, Quetzal's Corridors is actually the sequel to Through Space on WiiWare, which we got a similar situation with Fluidity Spin Cycle. Fluidity on WiiWare was all about controlling water. Yep, video games are the best. Fluidity Spin Cycle takes that concept and gives it more character. Meet Eddie. He's a water. You tilt your system back and forth.
Holy fuck, that was crazy work.
In some stages, you have to move the entire handheld upside down. Yeah, kinda cool idea, but in practice, who the hell wants to do this? I'd say the best Nintendo published eShop game in 2012 was from the same series as last year's. We got a follow-up to Pushmo in the form of Crashmo, the Mo series. This looks very similar, but plays a whole lot different. Basically, now blocks fall when there's nothing underneath to support them, and just that one change is enough to make me feel like an idiot. This is way harder now. It's still really damn good, but I wouldn't recommend this to somebody if they haven't already played Pushmo. Now, that wasn't it for Nintendo's eShop releases in 2012. Did we really forget Sparkle Snapshots 3D? Not yet. So this was a photo editing app Nintendo put out where you can make your pictures look like a website from the 90s. A lot of this is just something I can already sort of do in the stock 3DS camera app, so like, why would I spend $6 on this? Well, it seems that all the value is spunk-based. I mean, if you really dive in, I'm sure you'd find a photo editor with more in-depth tools, but the furthest I made it was less rock sticker deep. They upgraded the Pokédex 3D application to 3D Pro, containing far more Pokemon, pretty much all of them up to that point. It's a great resource for numbers. You even get a little Pokemon quiz you can take along with AR functionality. This is an awesome free update. Hell, I'd pay $1 for it. 15 times in a row. Yeah, $15 for this is a lot, especially when you could grab 2 or 3 of the other eShop games I just mentioned for that price. And this isn't even a game, it's a resource on the way to fictional dragons. Like, $14? Maybe. This released in the fall, alongside Pokemon Black 2 and White 2 releasing on the Nintendo DS. Pokemon Black and White already released like the same month the 3DS did. It just felt like Pokemon was avoiding the 3DS at all costs. Yeah. To make up for Black 2 and White 2 only being DS games, they launched Pokemon Dream Radar for $3. You could capture Pokemon with your 3DS camera and transfer them to Black and White 2. Oh man, apology accepted. See, the Pokemon company is just like me. They're trying to find an excuse to justify this thing. Now, a big Nintendo eShop moment in 2012 was the introduction of full-fledged downloadable retail games, starting with New Super Mario Bros. 2 being offered day and date in stores and on the eShop. Standard practice now, sure, but this was completely new territory for Nintendo at the time. Everybody give it up for the 45-year-old man with nothing wrong with him getting out of the chair he's been sitting in for his entire life just because he felt like it. A good handful of indie titles filled up the rest of the year, with Mutant Mudds headlining it. Now this was the 3DS eShop game. One of the first I think of right alongside Pushmo. A 2D platformer where you go between the background and foreground, a concept originating from Virtual Boy Wario Land of all things. Perfectly executed with the 3D display view. The gameplay is so damn simple. You just slowly walk, jump, shoot your weapon, hover in the air for a few seconds. That's pretty much it. But the simplicity isn't a bad thing. It's nice to have a game that knows what it is and takes advantage of that, offering an ultra-refined experience similar to what we got on the NES and SNES, so now with the mentality of modern-day game design. And as a player, man, I just like having some games I can always jump into and play without having to remember the controls or objectives. Mutant Mudds was always a safe bet for me to pick up and play if I didn't know what I wanted out of life, and it always did the job. But its simplicity does make it harder to stand out when it's not seen as an early 3DS eShop game. This got more attention because of that. If it launched right now for Xbox, nobody would be talking about it. But see, that's the beauty of early titles in a system's life. They stand out more, and being an early adopter can inspire you to try some games you may not otherwise.
I am Dumbledore, Lord Voldemort.
Professor Snape.
Dobby. And this is Harry Potter, like you've never heard it before.
Harry Potter, the full cast audio editions. Listen on Audible.
Oh, we did it.
Be honest. Would you? Birdmania 3D. This was always from my personal digital 3DS game collection, and the only reason it was ever notable was its insanely cheap price. Only $2. At the time, that was about the cheapest you could get on 3DS without going flat out free, and damn it, that is the best way to describe Birdmania. Outside of Birdmania. I mean, it's a high score based game that you'd find everywhere on the iPhone back in the day. The core of a fine game is there. It works and is fun enough for what it is. But this isn't the type of game that's meant to be reviewed. It's the type of game that's meant to be consumed and forgotten about after a 10-minute play session, and for $2 bones? I mean, it depends what you really value. Junk food or a healthy organic feast coated in pesticide. Colors 3D was another one I owned, which I got a fair amount of mileage out of. It was basically just a simple paint program, though you could use different layers to create 3D art. Get those sensors ready.
It's the word, I swear.
Crimson Shroud was definitely one of the meatier offerings, created by Level 5. It's a tabletop RPG, and that's the nicest thing I can say about it. The Dempa Men, developed by Genius, who develops a lot of the Pokemon spin-offs. They made 3 of them. Bomb Monkey, Art of Balance Touch, Zen Pinball 3D, Order Up, Mad Dog McCree.
It's a boy? Yeah, cool.
Definitely a step up from the eShop's first year, but that didn't stop 2012 from being the eShop's first year too. When the Wii U released in November of 2012, its very own Nintendo eShop came right alongside it. No waiting this time, everything was here and accounted for. Most retail games were offered as digital downloads, a handful of eShop-only releases, though no virtual console titles yet. Those would come within the next few months. This layout was definitely way smoother and less restrictive than the 3DS eShop. You could use the left or right sticks to move the page up or down, the D-pad to go panel by panel, or the touchscreen to go damn near anywhere. If we were timing this, let's just say you wouldn't be talking shit. Eventually, they added this little slot machine game to play before the eShop fully loaded, featuring all the icons from the games you own. I love the loading screen game, and with how damn slow the Wii U is at times, this went from cute addition to borderline necessary. It also helps the Wii U eShop stand out as a store, and now we wait for the competition's response. Only a few games exclusive to the Wii U eShop at launch. Most notably, we got Little Inferno. It's made by the same guys who whipped up World of Goo back on WiiWare, which was often considered the best game on the Wii Shop channel. That title showcased how this development team exceeded at physics-based puzzle games. The Little Inferno is more so a physics-based puzzle toy. It's just about lighting different objects on fire and combining multiple objects to burn at once that match these little cues, and I love it. This is the perfect game for the Wii U, as you're using the touchscreen to control the fire and place items while everybody on the TV can see what you're doing. I find these types of experiences are what the Wii U does best, next to Ringworm. Nano Assault Neo was a pretty standard shoot-'em-up. Mighty Switch Force Hyperdrive Edition was just Mighty Switch Force in HD with hand-drawn sprites, which believes Chasing Aurora and Trine 2, with this being one of the most AAA indie releases at the time. And you know what? That was a perfectly serviceable selection of eShop games. The Wii U's launch had stuff to play, in the same way your dad says, what do you mean there's nothing to do? The gutters need cleaned. But this was a fine enough start to the second variation of the Nintendo eShop, and moving into 2013, we were about to experience our first full year of both 3DS and Wii U digital stores simultaneously. And absolutely nothing's gonna stop us from doing so.
Hey everybody, Geriatrics here, therapist at the Think Barrel. Mental health's been on an upswing lately, and therapy profits are in the gutter. So I thought I'd do my part and get a second job telling the news again. So if this report traumatizes you, thanks bud, means a lot. If you start seeing things, you know who to call. We return to this hour's update on Throat Watch. Reports of dangerous substances such as lithium-ion batteries being hidden in Halloween candy have been lowered to a concerning 1. Resident Rex Mose can be seen here eating shit.
Prices all around are going up and not slowing down. But at Aaron's, you can get peace of mind by locking in low payments on name brand furniture, appliances, and electronics. No credit? No worries. No price hikes? That's a promise. Your payment won't budge no matter what happens tomorrow. And at Aaron's, you can start with 1 penny now and pay as you go.
Prices are going up, up, up.
But your payments are locked in low, low, low. Only at Aaron's.
Want thicker, fuller hair? It starts with just one click. Through Hims, you can get personalized treatment for hair regrowth 100% online. That means no in-person visits and no insurance required. First, answer a few questions to get started. Then a provider will review your information and see if treatment is right for you. If prescribed, your order ships right to your door for free. Plus, ongoing support is included, so you can regrow your hair with simple, convenient care. Start today at hims.com.
Wow, what I would give to be not him. And unlike somebody who doesn't have the exclusive interview with the brave cameraman who captured the whole thing, I do.
Yeah, it was crazy. First thing I did, contact the news station, show them the tape.
Rex Mose is now in critical condition. Detectives found this half-eaten battery on the scene, leading them to the culprit. Battery acid poisoning. Lock your doors at night.
Should really stop labeling my stuff like that.
Please!
911! Somebody just broke in! Can we have prison outside today?
Sorry, friend, no can do. Maybe this will cheer you up.
can't have a criminal without a gun.
Wait, do I know you?
Well, there's a good chance he gutted someone. I was right there behind you with handcuffs.
No, that hasn't happened yet. Do you have a brother?
Nah, even better. We're cousins. Got one that works at Target, one that's dead. I work at the police station. I'm a police employee. Pleasure doing business with you.
Well, I'm a convicted felon now. Might as well act like one.
Yeah, while both platforms had applications called Nintendo eShop, while on the Wii U eShop you could look up games on the 3DS eShop and vice versa, you couldn't buy them. These were two separate entities, which, like, goddamn, if they're two different stores, call them two different things. Which this just got messy. First, the concept of Wii U was introduced in early 2013. NES games were being released there and the 3DS eShop during the same time, but they'd release the same games for both, months, sometimes even years apart from each other, and they'd be completely separate. So Yoshi for NES launched on 3DS eShop on February 21st, 2013. On Wii U, Yoshi for NES launched on June 12th, 2013. Same exact game that you'd have to pay for all over again, in full, just to play on Wii U. Most of the same NES games appeared on both systems, but some only released on Wii U, and others only released on 3DS. Why?
Cancer exists and you're asking that?
The Wii U and 3DS eShops felt significantly behind on the times. Sony had their cross-buy initiative. You buy a PlayStation 1 classic game on PlayStation 3, you got it free of charge on PlayStation Vita. Now, they did that with some indie games and even full retail releases. And they were able to do this due to the use of their PlayStation account system. One account you use across all your PlayStation devices. And in 2013, to buy a game on 3DS and then going to your Wii U only to hear it say,
"Who the fuck are you?"
It's just depressing. I feel like Nintendo wanted to have these systems speak to each other far more than they did. I mean, I can view 3DS software available on the Wii U eShop, and why can I do that? But eventually, Nintendo finally combined the two eShops wallets. So pretty much, if you add 50 bones to your Wii U eShop balance, that money would also appear on your 3DS eShop. That's all it took for you? Well, when it came to actual software on the Wii U eShop in 2013, Nintendo's first major release was Google Maps. Wii Street U was a free app using Google Maps data where you could look up locations on your Wii U gamepad. Keep in mind, in 2013, this was one of only 3 games that released for the Wii U in February. It's just the Street View feature from Google Maps, but now with the option of moving around with the gamepad's gyroscope. For some reason, Nintendo thought this was immersive, so much so they released a similar application a few months later, Wii U Panorama View. Instead of looking up locations for free on Google Maps, this was a series of videos you had to shell out $2 a pop for. This was one of 3 games released in April. Why Nintendo was pushing the Wii U to do this kind of thing, I have no idea. It's not that it did a bad job at this. It was smooth and well produced. It's just you're holding a giant-ass serving tray with a comparatively small screen with a low resolution.
Oh, Paris.
The amount of worthless applications
Cool stuff.
Nintendo put out on Wii U in 2013 instead of actual video games is shocking. We got Animal Crossing Plaza, a companion app to a damn 3DS game. It was integrated with the Miiverse social media platform of the Wii U and allowed you to make posts about specific animals in the game. If any post began with,
"Listen, I'm just gonna say it."
Run. At least this was a free app, but they took it down a year and a half later, and the entire purpose of it was nothing but questionable. So this is for Animal Crossing players to interact with each other on a console that can't play Animal Crossing New Leaf.
Nintendo, just become a serial killer. You have the thought process of one.
We got Art Academy Sketchpad for like, what, $4? It wasn't like previous Art Academy games on the DS and 3DS. There was no Academy. This is just a drawing application. Pretty much Nintendo pitched it as a way to share full-color drawings on their Miiverse platform, draw something in the game, share it via the screenshot functionality, which, hey, the usefulness of this app is very similar to something like Colors 3D. The problem is, this was just a demo for an actual Art Academy game that later came to Wii U. Like, Jesus Christ, did Nintendo release an actual video game on the Wii U eShop in 2013?
No.
Pokemon Rumble U, $18.
Why not 19?
This is genuinely one of the worst games Nintendo's ever released, which, hey, one of the Pokemon Rumble games had to make the list. Originally a WiiWare game where you progress through simple levels battling other Pokemon with one of 2 very basic attacks, Pokemon Rumble U brings things to the next level by charging $18. There are no levels, just battle arenas. You just go into a basic ring and fight a bunch of Pokemon. That's the game. This is absolutely miserable. Why it's so expensive, why it exists to begin with is beyond me. The only reasons I can think of would be to rush something Pokemon related out on Wii U, and not only was Pokemon Rumble in its normal state the easiest solution, Pokemon Rumble in a worse state was preferable. Or it was to bring these figurines to market. NFC toys you could scan on the Wii U gamepad to play with in-game. These things weren't really pushed though, so it might have just been a test thing, but I don't know.
I'm Sora 2, the new AI in town.
We're not afraid. Artlist got them all.
Sora 2 is now on Artlist. You now have the most advanced AI video model on the market at your fingertips. Get incredible realism with fully integrated sound.
You keep the frame, I keep the story.
Build your own world with multi-shot stories and character consistency for any genre, all based on your prompt. So go to Artlist and start creating without limits.
Working it with the Experian app, your credit's gonna look so money. Fit check, see your FICO score anytime to find out if you're in the green. Lam it up with Experian Boost and raise your FICO score an average of 13 points. Get matched with credit cards tailored to you. And look like $1 million by saving on auto insurance. The Experian app looks good on you. Download it today and give it a try for free.
Pokemon Rumble U sticks with the Pokemon Rumble U tradition and is a piece of shit. Man, I don't know. Nintendo's Wii U eShop output has been pretty horrendous, but that all changed with the introduction of Wii Sports Club. Now it's just bad. Wii Sports Club was an HD remake of the original Wii Sports because at this point Nintendo ran out of options. This always felt a little more desperate than necessary to me. Like, okay, why remake Wii Sports? What did they improve? Well, HD visuals for one. The art design still uses the same incredibly basic Wii Sports style, so thank God. Oh man, Pong's in HD now. Wii Motion Plus is required for the games, which I'm just so used to how these games controlled without better motion control. Now that they have them, it's creepy. Golf and baseball both use the gamepad in unique ways. Golf, you set it on the floor and can see the ball. And the Wii U failed fucking why? Baseball's a bit more involved, using it as the pitcher and fielders. I'd say it's the only game that's really been enhanced by the gamepad use. The motion control upgrades across the board, while on paper they sound great, in practice, I always found them to make the sports more complicated and cumbersome at times. I mean, boxing is so much slower now. But hey, online multiplayer, now this was a big deal. You can finally play all the original games from Wii Sports online, and I barely ever did this. Why? Well, I'm never gonna say no to having the option. I feel like these games weren't optimized enough to feel natural with online play. I mean, compare bowling here to Nintendo Switch Sports. That has everybody bowl all at once, and overtime eliminates players that don't meet the score threshold. While in Wii Sports Club, it's pretty much just regular bowling. You have to watch the other players do everything, and when I say everything,
real shit.
that includes nothing. But that brings us to the way they delivered this content. Wii Sports Club was a free download in which after downloading, you could play all the sports as much as you'd like for 24 hours. Afterwards, you'd have to buy each sport outright, costing $10 a piece. Of course, that meant you could opt to not purchase some sports and only pick up the ones you want. But if you want a mere taste for a day, you could pay $2 for 24 hours access of all sports. But also keep in mind that Wii Sports Club only launched with tennis and bowling in November of 2013. In December, we got golf, and in June of 2014, we got baseball and boxing, and a full retail release in July for $40 containing everything. Yeah, explain that to Dad. How do you take one of the simplest, easy to understand games of all time and give it the strangest pricing structure you can think of? And most people got Wii Sports for free with their Wii, so why would they want to go from that to then buying each game individually? And who the hell would get the 24-hour day pass? I get they were trying to give it a sports country club feel. I mean, it's in the damn title, but at what cost? Too much. $40 overall for a remake of a game most got for free that you could already play on the console was remade on with minimal changes or additions outside of online multiplayer, which sounds amazing, but ended up being not nearly as fun as I dreamed when playing Wii Sports in its heyday. I'll still buy it, but still! Thankfully, Nintendo ended 2013 with a bang on the Wii U eShop. 2 games released right around the holidays. First up, NES Remix. Announced and released on the same day, this was an amazing little surprise that recontextualized classic NES games as bite-sized challenges. Unfortunately, some of these challenges would just be tutorials. Kick the turtles.
Oh no, my ass! I've worked it off!
But it's addictive to go through as many challenges as you can and try to get the best rank possible, rainbow stars. Though I think what NES Remix does best is actually make some of these games fun in a modern day setting. There's no human reason to play NES baseball anymore, but in the form of a challenge mode where you still get to play the game, but in a more abridged fashion, almost like playable highlights, it all makes sense. It makes these games as fun as they were back when they released. Now, of course, just browsing around the menus, it's clear Nintendo positioned NES Remix as a bit of an advertising tool, making sure the players know they can buy the full games on the Nintendo eShop. But this element is definitely underplayed and never overtakes the experience. This genuinely feels like an ingenious method of making outdated NES titles cool again. But of course, the star of the show is the remix challenges, though I'd say these are pretty hit or miss. Sometimes these are as cool as playing Donkey Kong as Link, but because you're Link from the original Legend of Zelda, you can't jump. So not only is it wild to play the game as a different character, but they keep an attribute of that character to increase the challenge. But other times, the remixes are basically just adding a filter to the game. When they hit, they really hit, but I find a lot of them to have too minor of tweaks to be really that cool. But when it comes down to it, NES Remix was exactly what the eShop needed. Something familiar yet incredibly fresh and fun. And for only 15 bones, I'd say this was the one eShop game that belonged on everybody's Wii U. But on New Year's Eve, that number increased by 0. Dr. Luigi, a new entry in the Dr. Mario puzzle series featuring Luigi because, well, we weren't feeling bad enough for Nintendo. So Dr. Luigi was created in commemoration of the Year of Luigi, Nintendo's worst financial year. A year-long celebration of Luigi's 30th anniversary. Yeah, why not let him diagnose me? Of course, on the last day of 2013, you kind of actively date your game by having Dr. Luigi stand on a giant Year of Luigi podium, but it doesn't really matter because all Dr. Luigi is Dr. Mario on the Wii U. You could have a giant banner at the top that says, "Congratulations on becoming a state, Wyoming," and it wouldn't matter because it's just core Dr. Mario gameplay. You pop in, play a quick game, pop out. So I don't think dating this game with the Year of Luigi makes it unplayable. The fact it's the same damn game from WiiWare does. Dr. Mario Online RX was a fantastic little WiiWare game for $10. Then 5 years later, Dr. Luigi releases for $5 more, introduces a mode with L-shaped pills, and the color green. Yeah, I gotta be honest, this is a pretty pitiful follow-up to all the Dr. Marios before. This is literally just Online RX, but in HD, with this new mode. Operation L. Instead of matching up a pill with 2 colors to the viruses in the bottle, and now you have to deal with an L-shaped pill. God damn, who gives a shit? This doesn't change the game. If anything, it just makes it easier because you have more pills, you have more chances to clear all the viruses. A lot of the music is reused from Online RX, the rest of the modes are. This just always felt like a fairly passionless project. I mean, it's cool that the viruses here have new designs and this Virus Buster mode returning from the WiiWare game plays differently, focusing on using the touchscreen of the gamepad, but it's not enough. This just feels like it was put together with not much thought at all. It's a completely competent modern Dr. Mario experience, but that's the only reason why I ever booted it up, because I just felt like playing Dr. Mario. I'm not perfect. And that was Nintendo's Wii U eShop output in 2013. Does anybody else feel itchy? I'll leave it up to the third parties and indies to pick up the slack. I'd say Tokitori 2 was one of the big headlining indies this year. I mean, a sequel to a late release Game Boy Color game exclusively on Wii U?
Tonight's the night. And it's going to happen again. Has to happen.
Surprise, motherfucker.
Dexter.
Dexter.
What do you think? Tonight's the night.
Stream every Dexter episode ever, exclusively on Paramount Plus.
That feeling when you want to buy a new ride, and it hits. You don't know if your credit score is road ready. No sweat. You can count on Credit Karma to give you an up-to-date look at your credit, so you can check your TransUnion and Equifax score updates daily and get personalized tips on how you can make them even better. all for free. Nice. Now that's the feeling of knowing your credit is good to go. Download Intuit Credit Karma to get started.
It's a shame because Tokitori 2 is a great little puzzler with loads of charm, and they also put out the remake of the original game on the eShop that very same year. It's always heartwarming to see developers really get behind certain consoles and create their games exclusively for them. It can help out, as in the case of Tokitori 2, that was one of the only original games that released on the Wii U in April 2013, and even if the game has released on numerous platforms since, I always see it as a Wii U game. But it is so risky to do that, especially for such a niche series like Tokitori. And some games, as much as I associate them with Nintendo and the Wii U as a whole, did release across multiple platforms, which was for the best. BitTrip presents Runner 2 Future Legend of Rhythm Alien, a great auto-scrolling rhythm platformer succeeding the BitTrip series on WiiWare, specifically BitTrip Runner. You know, there's not much to say outside of how addicting this game can be, and it's great to see how Runner 2 breaks free of the Atari 2600 styled graphics of the original BitTrip series. As well, that was unique, especially compared to how other retro-esque games would almost always tackle NES-style 8-bit at the time. It was for sure limiting, and you can only take the series so far with those types of visuals. And while that original series was exclusive to WiiWare for the longest time, Runner 2 launched on PC, PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, and Wii U, which was definitely smart for the developer. Though, this was always a Wii U game to me, much like DuckTales Remastered. DuckTales on NES by Capcom was always seen as this legendary title, one of the greatest on the console, setting the standard for licensed games based on cartoons. But because of that exactly, it was never re-released. Licensed games are just trickier to do that with. But thankfully, we got something even better, as Capcom, Disney, and the developer WayForward came together to fully remake the game. Now with these beautiful hand-drawn sprites, 3D backgrounds, remixed music, and fully voice-acted cutscenes. I love this game. In my opinion, it takes